Hi everybody, Daniel J. here with Cybervent website for ventriloquists at the 2019 Van Haven International Ventriloquist Convention, and I'm here with the one and only Taylor Mason.
I am, although there are other Taylor Masons, I'm the only Taylor Mason ventriloquist, I think.
Right.
But there are other Taylor Masons out there.
Yeah.
I know this because I've tried, somebody's got some social media page or something. I can't use my name because somebody else
Somebody
who is
else
also
snagged
Taylor
it, huh?
Mason, yeah. I can't remember, maybe Snapchat, I don't remember which one it is.
Right.
But I am the one and only Taylor Mason ventriloquist. So you
And Cubs fan.
And I am a Cubs fan.
There you go. That's a good thing.
I've been a Cubs fan my whole life, so they're having a good season. But baseball is so different now. It's kind of like ventriloquism.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball has changed in such dramatic ways. Just the fact that the Cubs won a World Series is
That's just it.
Dramatic change. But similar to ventriloquism, the game of baseball has changed in dramatic ways that you could not have predicted a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Same with our skill of ventriloquism,
Right.
which has completely been overhauled, I
Yeah.
think, from a public point of view.
Oh, it really has. I mean, I remember I always open up saying, how many of you know what a ventriloquist is? And
Yeah.
there was very few kids' hands that go up, and nowadays kids' hands they all know what a ventriloquist is nowadays, thanks in part to people like Darcy Lynn and Jeff Dunham and of course you.
A lot of people. There are a lot of people that, as you said, the people that don't know. But I've just been thinking about this. Today was the first day that I got to go to the W.S. Berger Vent Haven Museum.
Oh, it's first time.
First time I've ever been there, which if you're not familiar, it's a museum in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, that is a house that has been converted, and a couple of warehouses in the back, which have been converted from a residential home
Mm-hmm.
to a ventriloquist figure, ventriloquist puppet, ventriloquist dummy, whatever you want to call it, a museum just for those. And I'd never been.
Uh-huh.
Been told many times that I needed to go, and it really was, for me, a life-changing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, to see the pictures on the wall it's pretty amazing. My point being that the art of ventriloquism, the skill it's always been there, although it's had some very lean times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now is not that, as you said, because of some of the Darcy Lynn, Jeff Dunham, Terry Fader. Those people are current, but there are a lot of other folks like us who are working.
Right.
And because it is the golden age of ventriloquism for whatever reason.
Yeah, and it's just a crazy art, and we love it.
Yeah, it is.
So I got about 5 questions that I ask everybody, and
Shoot.
The first one is, what got you interested in ventriloquism?
I'm going to talk about this in my show tonight a little bit, and it's in my book, Irreversible by Taylor Mason. You can get it online.
Mm-hmm.
The real reason, the whole reason that I'm a ventriloquist at all is because there are 2 things. One is my mother would do the laundry and roll the socks up into a ball. So she would do the laundry, wash your socks, lay them out, and roll them into a ball, and twist the ball inside out. So it's a self-contained, both socks self-contained in a ball with the opening of one of the socks at the top. Instead of just putting that sock in the drawer when I was a little boy, she would form that opening into a smile. So when you would open your sock drawer in the morning, there would be 10 or 12 smiling round balls looking up at you. And one of her many sayings, which my brothers and I memorized, was start every day with a smile.
Yes.
And it took me a long time, this is how smart I am, to realize that the socks are smiling with the idea that you start every day with a smile. First, my parents, second, are children of the Depression. They were born in the 1920s and grew up in the 1930s, and both were addicted to the radio the way young people today are addicted to Game Boy or Game Boy. Now it's PlayStation. I really just totally aged myself. But PlayStation, Xbox, stuff like that, they listen on the radio. My mom's family didn't have enough money to have a radio, so they went down the street to an aunt's house. She had a big console radio, and everybody in the neighborhood would gather around. Wow. And my dad's family had a Southern Illinois. Their favorite show was the Chase Sanborn Hour, which starred a ventriloquist named Edgar Bergen and Edgar Bergen's partner, Charlie McCarthy.
Right.
so that was their favorite. To them, that was the epitome of show business. So when I started to take the sock out of the drawer and put it on my hand, a la the woman that I was watching on television every Saturday morning, Sherry Lewis, who had a sock on her hand, and my family farms, and the animals in Sherry Lewis's hand, the puppets on the sock on her hand. One was a horse and one was a lamb.
Right.
Charlie Horse and Lamb Chop. Well, it doesn't take, the jump is not that far to go from start every day with a smile. Oh, the sock is smiling. Oh, the farm animal is on the woman's hand. It's a sock. Wait a minute.
Epiphany.
Exactly. The sky breaks, the angels sang. And that is how I started this. So I'm 63 years old, and I probably first put a sock on my hand when I was 8 or 9, maybe younger, maybe 7, 8, or 9. So that's how I got started.
Wow.
Didn't do it in public. I did it. I ran around a store. My grandmother was a seamstress in Ottawa, Illinois, at a J.C. Penney downtown before there were malls, and I was running around the store and I think driving people crazy.
Yeah.
So she said, "Come up here and give me that sock. It's just a sock."
Right.
And she sewed eyes on it and some yarn on the head. And,
Okay.
Obviously instead of just the sock now, it's like a little thing that's talking, and that's how
And did you eventually get courses, or like the Jimmy Nelson album or anything like that?
So my dad, keeping with the times, gets one of those plastic Danny O'Day puppets, the slot jaw with the string in the back of the neck.
Sure.
And brings it home. I don't know where he got it. He might have bought it, but he gave it to me as a gift. It might have been a birthday or a Christmas gift. I don't remember. But I'm probably now, the idea of the sock isn't working for my parents, I don't think. Or maybe they just think that because I'm talking to the sock, well, let's get him a real ventriloquist figure and let him, so that he's not just talking to a sock.
Right.
So the problem with that figure, that plastic-headed thing, was there's a pull string in the back of the neck, but you have to hold the puppet against your body and pull the string for a little boy.
Yeah.
It's and I will always wonder if this was my father's motivation. He said, "Oh, that's not going to work. You and I are going to have to rebuild this puppet."
Oh, no kidding.
So he and I took the head out. He got a lathe and built a wooden base for the plastic head, which he glued on there. We got a stick from a broom handle and put it in to the wooden base so that the string now came out, and we put some kind of hook at the bottom. It was like a shower curtain hook.
Right.
And he put that on the string so I could grab the joystick for the puppet's head and pull on the string.
Wow.
Then he created like a ball and socket, a pestle and mortar thing where that wooden base that he built for the neck fit down into the mortar and pestle shoulders that he made, and then 4 braces for the shoulders into a wooden base, and then covered that with some kind of, I don't know, terry cloth or something, and then put the original clothes of the plastic Danny O'Day back on the puppet, and now I had a swiveling head. It was a slot jaw, very hardly opened. Right, but who cares?
Yeah.
It was such a huge step up from.
That's amazing.
So now I'm practicing in front of a mirror because I have to make it look like it's real. Because now I've got a thing. Now it's not the sock. Now it's for real.
Right.
So my gosh, now I've got to bring the puppet. He's got to do all the, and I've got to figure out everything and talk without moving my lips and create an act, which I do. And I practice and practice. And no, I'm not. There's nobody to watch. When a ventriloquist would appear on television, for example, I saw probably 1969, 70, right around in there. Love American Style had, which was a television show. It was a sitcom, and they had an episode with a ventriloquist couple on it.
Right.
So when I saw that on the TV guide. Oh my gosh, I have to watch.
Yeah.
So I watched that. It was a man and woman. They were a ventriloquist duo. I don't even remember the names. But oh, that was such an eye. Oh, here's people actually doing ventriloquism, and on television. And in those days, there's only 5 channels out in Illinois.
Right.
So that's kind of how I started. When I got into, I was probably in junior high school. Well, I was in junior high school. It was 7th grade. I decide that I'm going to perform at school. I'm going at lunchtime, maybe at lunch break.
Okay.
I'm bringing my partner, which I named Ted. My father had named him Ted. He thought it was very hip because he didn't like Teddy Kennedy. So I thought it was a huge joke that the
dummy was
named Ted. You know. So I've prepared this act, like a 6-minute dialogue that I'm going to do at Hinsdale Junior High School. And I get on the bus, and there are 3 bullies that have been tormenting me probably for 2 or 3 years. 3, maybe longer.
Yeah.
And they made me cry. They bullied me so much.
Terrible.
Oh, it's awful. But now I'm going to show them because I've got Ted.
Right.
So everybody's there with their, nobody had backpacks in those days, but a book bag or books under their arm. I've got my books, and I have a little duffel bag, and inside is Ted. And I get on the bus, and they're there with me, and we're waiting at the bus stop. What is that? I'll show you at lunchtime. I want to see it now. No, I'll show you. And they open the bag. What is this? To my friend, his name is Ted. You have to do a show. I'm going to. No, you have to do a show today on the bus for us. All right. Great.
Right. Yeah.
So in the back of the bus where the emergency exit is, the bus leaves, and we're headed to Hinsdale from Clarendon Hills, where I lived. And okay, it's you're on. Whatever they say. It's time for you. So everybody turns around in their seat to watch. I stand up, get Ted out. And it is the most humiliating. It's hard to even talk about how humiliated I was with my. One of the jokes was the punchline to one of them was the puppet says, if you were my son, I'd give you poison, and he says, if I was your son, I'd take it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that's one of the jokes. This is. I'm in 7th grade.
Right.
It's 7th grade. But they are just berating me. You're terrible. But they're laughing at me.
Right.
Doubled over people. I put Ted away. I don't bring Ted out into public for almost 6 years.
Oh my goodness.
I was devastated.
Oh my goodness.
I was a closet ventriloquist.
A closet ventriloquist. So
I taught myself, and then I got into college, and I started performing in college. And now I'm getting paid.
Right.
And people were giving me $50 to come do their fraternity party. So I called this guy, Clinton Detweiler, in Littleton, Colorado. Tell him I want to be a professional ventriloquist. And I gotta learn how to do it quickly. I don't know if I'm good enough. And there's no video. This is 1975, 76, 77. I'm in college. There's no video, but I've got to know, am I any good?
Right.
I'm charging people now.
Right.
So he sends me his course, the Mayor Ventriloquist course. So I read it, and it's a lot of stuff he did that I didn't do. The pronunciation of letters without moving your lips.
Right.
Which is basically substitution of sound.
Yeah.
It's polyphony, not so much whatever you think of ventriloquism is. Polyphony, where you're substituting sounds to make it sound as if something is happening that really isn't.
Right.
So he sends me the course, and I devour it. I'm into it. I'm all over the course. And I make a little cassette tape on my dad's cassette recorder, send it to him, and he sends me a letter back. You don't need my course. You didn't need this. You're doing great.
Wow.
So he became a lifelong friend, and that was the first time. And I had not seen a live professional ventriloquist show in my life. I had seen on television a couple of ventriloquists. And then Soap came out, the TV show Soap.
Right, yeah.
So now Jay Johnson is on TV once a week. The show was never, Soap was not, it was very cutting edge for the time.
It definitely was.
And it was not on, where I lived, it wasn't on ABC, NBC, CBS. It was a syndicated show. But I would watch it to watch Jay Johnson, because a professional ventriloquist was a really great looking figure, and getting laughs from the studio audience or the laugh track, whatever it was, and I was enamored of that. Who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
And that was, so now all this time, now I'm in my 20s, and I graduated from college. And now I'm making good money as a ventriloquist doing this act, or music and comedy and ventriloquism.
Sure.
So I go to Chicago, and I get hired as a musical director at a theater, and I'm working there, and I'm doing my ventriloquism in comedy clubs and bars and saloons in Chicago. And then I started seeing all these other ventriloquists who there just weren't ventriloquists working. It was not, you didn't even see them, you couldn't get hired as a ventriloquist in the 1980s. But the comedy clubs were so desperate for content, and somebody to get up there and do something, that I was getting booked.
Right.
And then there was a guy named Ken Lucas, with a puppet named Casey, who was a duck.
Sure. Yeah.
Very popular comedy club act. Very, very popular. Every time I would go to a comedy club, people would say, "You must know Ken and Casey." And Ron Lucas was performing. He did a show on Broadway. Everybody knew. A lot of people knew about that. Jay Johnson was performing live, and Willie Tyler and Lester became a very big headlining comedy act. They didn't play comedy clubs regularly. They had done the Tonight Show and had moved into another theaters. And, I went and saw him open for Lena Horne in Chicago.
Right. He did a lot of opening for the Motown
artist, being
yeah.
a Detroit kid, and then later a Motown artist.
Yeah.
And good for him. Perfect act for that.
Sure.
And they paid him well, and so those guys were really influential in making ventriloquism, if not hip, it never completely disappeared off the radar.
Right.
So, and I kind of bottom fed, even though I had not followed the usual ventriloquism. I talked to Bill Boley, got a joke book, went to a convention, met other ventriloquists. I was alone doing my own little thing. Well, I shouldn't say alone, because somebody built that puppet, and then my dad helped me. And then my grandmother helped me with the sock, and Sherry Lewis showed me how. So now we're backtracking, but all of that, fast forward, and now we're up to today, where ventriloquism is this thing. Again,
so. Yeah. Now, what was the first professional figure that you actually used or got?
It was a guy named Robert Scott. He was from Michigan. He was not a ventriloquist at all. I don't even know if he ever came to a convention, but he built hard figures.
Okay.
And my father, for a college, I went through college performing, getting paid. When I was a senior in college, I was making $250 a gig with that original plastic-headed.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, I was killing it.
Yeah.
In Champaign. And so by the time I got to Chicago to do professional comedy shows, I already had some legs.
Yeah.
My dad, for a college graduation, did what he could afford. He bought probably a $300 or $400 wooden-headed puppet made by Robert Scott, who was he liked to build puppets. And there were many Robert Scott figures out there. I named that puppet JP, because P is hard to say, and I figured what's your name, JP? Now it's going to make me say, that was the hardest letter for me.
Right.
So by putting P in his name, every night I have to say P.
Yeah, so you're getting lots of practice.
So not just practice in front of the mirror, now it's forcing me to practice when I walk on stage at Zany's Comedy Club or all these places that I would play.
Right.
And it was a real life, not like, but a normal-sized, real ventriloquist, hard, it was fiberglass and it was composite. And it had eyes that moved back and forth with a lever on the stick, which I'd been using, so I was very comfortable with that.
Right.
And I probably used that right up until the maybe mid to late 80s. And the reason I changed is I was on a train. I was on a rainy night. I had a gig. I was at Northwestern University on the north side of Chicago, and I had a gig on the south side of Chicago. I was in graduate school at Northwestern. And I had to go to the south side of Chicago and do this gig at this mom and pop pizza joint. And it's pouring rain, and I've got my composite figure, JP, in a nylon bag, and I probably walked the last maybe a mile in the pouring rain in Chicago, got there, and the jaw stuck. So and when I got him out of the bag, water poured out. I had a great, I had all kinds of lines. I mean, I just took a bath, but his mouth was stuck.
Oh boy.
So so I improvised my way through my set and realized and it's never the same.
Right.
I had to shave the inside of the slot jaw. Well, now the slot is huge, but at least it worked. And that's when I made the switch to going to soft figures.
Okay. Now you still have that wooden figure?
I do not.
You don't? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because of the way I came into this, it's, for me, the entire, unlike at the Burger Museum, which is a lot of ventriloquism is not just, the basics of ventriloquism are a clever figure, excellent technique, and brilliant content or material that you present. But there's another facet, which is the collection or the maintenance of these figures.
Right.
And there's a whole culture of people who can look at one of these and they'll like, oh, that was made by Anthony Davis in Liverpool, England in 18, that,
right.
I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Until but within the last decade.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, today I went over and saw the museum, and there's just tons of these figures that represent the evolution of ventriloquism. But
Right.
I, unlike most ventriloquists, I don't keep, this is, we're going this way now.
Yeah.
This is what I'm, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or when one of the soft figures gets old or I don't need it, I just use it for, I take it all apart and use it for parts.
Right.
I can always use the nylon, the eyebrows, a wig, the toes,
Sure.
ankle, whatever. I can, and the great thing about the soft figure is it's very easy. With the hard figures, you've got a lot to think about with the mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And today it's become very sophisticated on the tree, whatever you want to call the post, that operates a ventriloquist puppet. I've seen all kinds of things.
Right.
On the inside to operate the eyes, the eyebrows, the lips pulled back, whatever.
Oh yeah.
With the soft figure, you've got the mouth and maybe the eyebrows.
Right.
Perfect.
And you're good.
Go.
Yep. Yep. You're all set.
So I'm not a collector, and it's very utilitarian and very proletariat.
Yeah.
Get to whatever it is that I'm doing, and if this doesn't work anymore, sorry.
Right. Right.
You were great in the moment. Your moment's passed. I'm going over here.
Sure. I got you. Now, when did you come up with the idea of Paco?
On my family farms, I did not grow up on a farm myself, but I worked on the farm during the summer, especially for a couple of years for my Uncle Art. My dad was a farm news radio broadcaster in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
My Uncle Art raised hogs, had a barrow to gilt, which is a birth to slaughter hog operation.
Okay.
He doesn't anymore just because the economies of scale just make it. It's like pro sports. You have to become a relief pitcher, a third baseman, a grain farmer, or a livestock farmer. You have to.
Right.
And you can't do everything anymore.
Uh-huh.
But Uncle Art Mason raised hogs, and I've cleaned hog pens, and hogs are not stupid. They're a smart animal. It just lent itself to me to being a great ventriloquist puppet. And the first person I talked to about building a ventriloquist puppet pig was Verna Finley, a soft puppet builder who very famous in our world.
Right.
And she was the one who said, I can't do it quickly enough, as quick as you want. Why don't you just go and buy one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why don't I? Why would I not? I'll just
Right.
find a puppet. So I went to a store, a children's store. I think it wasn't Toys R Us. It was like a boutique children's store, and I can't remember the name of it. But it wasn't Toys R Us. It was something supposed to be for smart children. And
Right.
I go in, and there's a stack of these Folk Manus puppets.
Right, yep.
Folk Manus is a company in California. They make high-end, high-quality puppets.
Right.
They're not so much ventriloquist puppets. They're just puppets.
Right.
But I see the pig, and I don't remember how much it cost. I buy the pig, and the first day I took it up on stage, it just killed. It was in a comedy club.
Right.
Where the comics are all, they're doing what stand-up comics have to do to get people to laugh.
Right.
But I've got a pig, and the pig it gets humongous laughs.
Uh-huh.
So that was probably, I was well into my career by this time. I've reached the point that I started putting a pig in my act, where I've got to diversify because I've been working so much, I've got to start adding stuff to the act.
Sure.
And the first thing that I added, just based on the fact that I'd worked on a pig farm and my family farms, and going back again to Sherry Lewis, the whole thing started that the soft puppets are very much like the sock.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Right.
very, you're not asking yourself, it's not going to take a lot to get, and you can do things with your hand, but the mechanics are just so much simpler. And like I said, get to it. And that goes to everything, whether it's the joke or the job, just get to it.
Right.
Get rid of all the detritus. Let's get right to what it is that we're doing. We're doing a pig puppet, slips on your hand, and we tell the jokes. Boom.
Right. Okay.
And when that ends, I'll just dump him. You know,
Yeah.
there won't be an emotional tie, and it won't be a business tie,
Right.
as there is with ventriloquist hard figures.
Right.
And for collectors, again, for me, it's all utilitarian. So for now, the pigs are, big part of the show.
Yeah.
Great.
Still work. Yes. So you've been to the convention how many times now?
I believe this is either my third or fourth. The first time I came, I performed. The second time I came, I gave a lecture. And so this is either the third or fourth time I've come.
And what do you like most about the convention? What would you
Well,
say?
the biggest thing is that it is just so, it's very positive. It's an incredibly positive experience, which is, I think, really important because the idea of ventriloquism is so mainstream again now that I think it would be very, very easy for the people who are doing really well in ventriloquism to kind of have the hubris and the attitude that goes along with success. But it seems to me, as only having been here a couple times, that there's a very compassionate and kind of a self-awareness that we're all in this together, and we all want to do the same thing, we all want to create the same thing, we all want to have success.
Right.
And it's going to be better for us. It is better for us. The vibe I get, it is better for us to all get along, help one another, be supportive, and that is the thing that stands out to me the most, especially in American culture, which is very divided and almost spiteful toward one another. But here, it's a bubble in this little convention, and there's 500 or 600 people here.
Yeah.
So it's not a small. It's not 100. It's not 50 people in a
Right.
in a conference hall. It's a big deal.
Right.
So that is what I take away every time I've come. That's the thing that I've noticed by far the most.
Right. Yeah. It's fantastic. That's the one thing I like is that we're almost like family.
It does have
And
it has that feel. There's not a lot of pretense.
Right.
There aren't a lot of degrees of separation between, say, whoever's here. I think the biggest star in our business here is Ron Lucas, but I've seen a lot of people just walk up to Ron, and he's been very affable and
Oh yeah.
talks to people. And so there's, what is there, 2 degrees of separation? Maybe
Yeah.
if you are in your 20s and you want to talk to the people who have really paid their dues in show business, well, you're one step away from walking over and saying, Mr. Lucas, I just wanted to introduce myself. And I know in other show business aspects that I have been involved with since I've been in the business, music and comedy and theater, that it was not the case even when you're working with people on the same project, when it would behoove everyone
Right.
to have that kind of access. So I think that's pretty impressive. And then you have your Pete Michaels, Lynn Tresker, Dan Horn, people who are established, excellent professionals, and they are incredibly giving of their time and expertise to whoever. So, and of course, the dealers' rooms where people sell the for lack of a better word, props or the materials that we need to do our act, that's a really cool thing too. Because they're all next to each other,
Right.
but there doesn't seem to be a lot of jealousy or fighting over table space or room
Right.
space or anything like that.
Yeah.
Even on that very basic necessity for our business, it all seems very positive and a very, very comfortable place to be, family-like, I guess.
Right, yeah. The last question I want to ask you, and I'd like to ask everybody this, is out of all the characters that you have, who is your favorite character?
Well, you know, I guess my favorite is the pig, is Paco the pig, but that's it changes. You know, I probably have 5 or 6 main characters. You know, the boy figure Romeo I like working with because I always feel like there's always something new that he can comment on.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes him, whereas the pig is pretty much locked into a certain, he's congenial pig who likes to have fun with me, and then the other pig, Ramon, is always, he's kind of nervous and scared,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Romeo can make comments on social and political and topical themes and events where the others really can't.
Right.
So I kind of like that because that lends a lot of hip, you know, currency to
Right.
the act.
Yeah.
So I guess those are the top 2.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to
Daniel,
come
my honor.
and interview with Cybervent, and sure people are going to appreciate a lot of the things you had to say. And don't forget about Taylor's book.
Yeah, I've got a book, Irreversible. It's basically a memoir of my career. And then I have a comedy special on Facebook called Dry Bar Comedy. Please go. You can download it. You can get it on your Android. It's a streaming video.
Mm-hmm.
Everything now is streaming.
Right.
And it's called Dry Bar Comedy. You can get it on any streaming device that you've got. You just go to Dry Bar Comedy and download it. Mine is called Hysterical Perspective. So
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I
Taylor.
appreciate you.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Cyberpunk.